Organize this press conference for Dennis. In fact, the reason why we picked this place is called Tang Chinese Cuisine, and that reminds all of us about the Tang Concubines. Great performance that he has just presented last year. I will be speaking in English only. We are happy to have York Region. We have the Rogers Television as well as the York Regional Media Group here. But Dennis will be speaking in English as well as in Mandarin later on. So I'll just do a quick presentation and remind us of what has been done and what is going to be coming up in the future. Now I'm sure you all remember the two Dora Awards that Dennis has received. It was last year in 2007, and Dennis is now putting together the Monkey King, and Dennis is going to give you more information about that to pursue for the next Dora Award coming up. It will not be in 2008, but Dennis will give you more information later on. Let me take you all to the performances. Remember this? Dennis is going to give you more information about all these later on, and I can give you a memory stick of all these information, so you can pick some of the things that you will prefer to show. And remember the next one. We also have the same thing with the Terracotta Warrior, which you all remember. Let me get you to the next one. Let me show you, this one is from the Terracotta Warriors.
Okay, move the cursor, please. Cursor is in the picture. Thank you.
Remember all the posters, all the ads that we have done for Tang Concubines. Last time when we were doing the Tang Concubines, we have a lot of sponsors. Omni is one of them, and we also have CTV. We also have the Sun. We also have the Sing Tao, Ming Pao, as well as the York Region. Actually, York Regional Media Group was one of them too. Remember the Terracotta Warrior that we have? Now this is what they have. They have glamorous costumes. This is what they have as a visual. And this is what it is at the real show for the Tang Concubines, the Empress Day. And I'm sure you all remember all the musical actions, all the dances. Now this year we have the new production is more glamorous than ever. And Dennis is going to tell you more about, this is in Chinese, I'm sure you all know as Tixin Gongju. We're talking about the Monkey King, and this is based on the famous novel that was written in China many years ago. Dennis is going to give you all this information. These are some of the visuals for the cast and the settings for the Monkey King. It's going to be a huge production. Dennis, this is what? The Team Pig, or is this the Heaven Palace? Yuk Wang Dai Dai Team Pig, okay? Now this is what?
This is the Heavenly God's palaces.
Right. And you can tell us about this too?
Yeah, once they get to going after this this ultimate truth to go on this journey in which the sights become more Chinese surreal. So it's a kind of surrealism, but Chinese style.
Now this is when Dennis got the Thora Award last year, but he's planning for growth. And I will let Dennis to tell you what he has done in Beijing, in Europe, and what he's going to do coming back for more success in here. This is when he got the Dora Awards. Michael Crick was there, congratulating him, and this is why he's coming back to discuss something in Richmond Hill that is upcoming in the Richmond Hill Center for the Performing Arts. This is the key, and he has two big productions that he is working on, and as I say, one is for the Monkey King, and the other is he's planning to do the best of the best together with all the 7 shows, the best highlights. Maybe I'll leave all these with Dennis to give you more information, to tell you what is going on there. Maybe I'll pass it on to Dennis. I have this presentation. I can give that to you in a memory stick, and then you can use one.
Good afternoon now, I guess, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity. For most of you, I think you're aware that my company and I got a start, really, with producing Broadway scope shows in about early 2002, after our family made the purchase of the then Ford Center for Performing Arts in Vancouver, and now renamed the Center in Vancouver for Performing Arts. The very fact that my family and I have the ability to own such a magnificent venue in North America afforded us the opportunity to create Chinese shows that are unprecedented and have the ability to launch them like no time before in history in the North American marketplace. The very fact that I'm back here today talking about what is coming up is a tribute and thanks to the Canadian audiences for supporting our previous 6 shows with such enthusiasm that it has allowed us to really move forward in a way that is unknown in the history of Chinese performing arts in modern history. Because with the support of the Canadian audiences across the country, our company has done nearly 500 performances in major venues of all North American cities. And it is with this historic strength that we're able not only to win 2 Dora Awards, as Daisy has mentioned, which is again an unprecedented feat for Chinese performing arts, but it's also this strength and track record that have given us the ability to launch some shows in a history-making fashion during the Beijing Olympics of 2008. So even though I've seemingly have dropped out of sight for a while, it's not that I was incapacitated, as some might think. It's because I've been really busy putting a new face on our company. So for the first 500 performances, we really focused on the North American market. But because of the Beijing Olympics, which is historic in its context, we've now made a major move to position ourselves in the Chinese market. And again, this is all possible because of what the Canadian market and the Canadian theaters have allowed us to do over the last 5 or 6 years. So during the month of July, we will be running 30-some performances of the Dora Award-winning show, Tang Concubines, in a theater in Beijing the month before the Summer Olympics. This is like an appetizer for the Beijing Olympic market. But as soon as August arrives, we will move into the Beijing Exhibition Hall Theater, which is probably their largest Broadway house in Beijing, housing nearly 2,700 seats. We will present a world premiere of Monkey King on August 9th, following the opening ceremonies on the 8th. We'll run Monkey King for 13 performances. That is, if we don't add any performances, we're running 13 performances at least 13, followed by 6 performances of Terracotta Warriors before the closing ceremonies. The closing ceremonies is on the 24th. Our performances end on the 23rd. It is obviously our intention to not compete with either the opening or closing ceremonies, because I don't think anybody can compete with the opening. If you don't have tickets for it, you'll be watching them on television. But I don't, in no other show in China that I know of now would run that scope during this Olympic run. And so we are very proud to be a Canadian company, Sights on Action, launching Chinese scopes, launching Chinese shows to this scope in the Beijing market during the Olympics. I think it is really unheard of, even in other Olympics, because I don't think in other Olympics any show gets to run 60 strong during that period. And more so, because I'm taking it is so fortuitous that because of the strength that Canada has given me, I'm doing these 60 shows during the Beijing Olympics. And it is simultaneously my gratitude to the Law family that gives me the strength to be the owner of a major venue in Vancouver, probably by now still the best looking venue in Vancouver, just in time so that in 2010 comes in the Winter Olympics, this Canadian company will run a Chinese show in a fabulous venue in Vancouver for about 3 months. So I've already, in my trip to Vancouver, just before coming to Toronto, I've taken my pen and put a slash across the calendar of the Centre in Vancouver for Performing Arts from near Christmas through the end of February. I did that because just comically, it was absolutely hell trying to rent the theaters for me to do my 60 performances that I've just described in Beijing. Because no Olympic city really wants to rent out theater at that stretch, at whatever the price. So it took a lot of doing for us to rent these spaces and paying more than usual, the market rate, which is common anyway, because by the time the Olympics come, restaurants are going for several times their usual price. Hotels are going for several times the usual price. And I hear that the Olympic ticket is about 130 euros per session. So we are very glad to be able to secure these theatrical spaces for our shows for Sights on Action during the Beijing Olympic time period. And that's why I was very much in a hurry to put my pen across the calendar of the Centre for Performing Arts in Vancouver so that our shows will have its ability to showcase itself during the Winter Olympics of 2010. In terms of, I've talked to Michael, who is the manager of the new Richmond Hill Center for Performing Arts for some time now. And I met with him again. He came to Beijing to visit me. We're very anxious to showcase a show of significant Chinese proportions, sometime that suits a calendar, and sometimes at some time when the city councilors and mayors deem it is fitting for us to show up. And we were working very hard that we put a Chinese show on stage on behalf of Richmond Hills Performing Arts Center. It is something, even though we're somewhat limited by the size of their stage and the size of their auditorium, we're thinking very hard to put up something there that is world-class in its visual presentation, unfettered by the limitations of the space as much as possible, so that after all, this does pay tribute to Chinese art and culture by a Canadian company. So we don't want to make this showing as some mainland Chinese company putting in a showing here in Richmond Hills. But it takes some doing to put together. Presently, although it cannot be finalized until they get approval from all the political powers that be, I've made a recommendation almost to do a show, almost like my company, called a show entitled Sight, Sound, and Action, that presents some highlights of 7 shows that Canada has given us legs up on to showcase the rest of the world. And that way, it will truly be a razzle-dazzle of dance and action, true to our character, true to the needs of a new theater that opens with something during its early periods that really showcases the maximum of its potential. Because, I own a theater, Michael's a manager of a new one. We all know that wearing that hat, you want to put on shows that pushes your theater to the limit of its technical capability. Because if you have a singer on stage with a guitar or 4 dancers, sure, you have lights and sound to carry them, but it isn't pushing that theater to its limits. So I'd like to work with Michael in some way to push it to the limit. I'll keep my formal remarks in English just to that amount, because it's better not to monopolize everybody's time. And if you have, I'll make a short presentation in Mandarin, at which point I'll take informal questions briefly here, and then for those that are willing to stay around and enjoy the refreshments and lunch we have, then we can talk about anything that is to your fancy. 谢谢各位的来宾来跟我们聊一聊关于我们现在目前的节目，因为我最近没有很多时间在加拿大，因为我确实是在北京，差不多奔到北京来很卖力的来筹备几个新的演出。为了加拿大对我们的支持，这几年我们有这个实力。现在北京的奥运会期间呢，是推广2部以前的剧的是新的包装，还是一个新的剧是全球的首演，叫《美猴王》。因为《美猴王》呢是我们公司第7部动作音乐剧，是中国独一无二的摇滚音乐剧，用取题于《西游记》。但是这个新名叫《美猴王》，取题的原因呢，就是因为呢，《西游记》这个书确实是太大了，几千页的很复杂的一个小说，如果整本书搬在舞台上，你们看1个月都看不完。但是我们用一个新的国际方便的手法，来精彩的片段拉出来。弄为一个新的故事，有头有尾，有打斗的场面，弄为一部适合家庭性的音乐剧，来将来是跟西方的有名的《Lion King》之类的剧来做个对比，来一个比较。对我来讲，作为制作人、作为导演，是挺有意思的。所以呢，我们以前6部剧都在温哥华大剧院来首演的，而且来试演的。但是这部剧是为了奥运会在北京时间中，我们就利用这个首演呢，来给我们中国人的中华民族特点的剧有一个特别的对外国的观众来讲来表示一个特别大的力量，所以这个机会是难有的。我们演《大唐贵妃》的原因写30多场，原因就是这个是你们很有运气，在加拿大，你们加拿大的观众跟评委是获给我们这个创历史的多少奖。我有这2个多少奖呢，在北京奥运会的期间，公演给外来的客人来看，是个特有影响的一个奖励。所以我是用《大唐贵妃》来带头在北京的市场。我们在北京的市场弄出来的都是大多都是给外国的客人来北京参加奥运会的，来工作啊，或者来旅游啊，来看的。北京的观众确实，因为他们是习惯是 给人送票来的，但是外国的客人现在来北京确实是缺国际性的演出来看的。根据美猴王的奥运会的时候已经说过了，但是为奥运会期间中这个闭幕这天之前，我们是演6场兵马俑。兵马俑在多伦多的西场演过两趟，但是兵马俑是我们公司演出场次最多的一台剧，现在演过超过130场，在北美的市场。所以对外国的观众来北京来讲，对国内的观众来讲，奥运会期间来演兵马俑，是我认为是一个必须要做到的一个过渡。所以今年夏天是演《大唐贵妃》《美猴王》《兵马俑》3部剧，作为一个奥运会期间的一个动作音乐剧的演出节，是 Sights on Action 的加拿大公司在北京奥运会期间的一个演出节。所以 Richmond Hill Center 已经说完了，这个北京的，我现在还是来这里呢，找一个办法呢，来推动租到一个剧场在多伦多的这个 Metro 区里面来演《美猴王》，因为这台剧是比我们以前6部剧更加大，就是画的不仅画的17块，画的老师一听的吓他一跳，但是这个大型的剧，我不可以从小的剧场来演，这缩水。效果太差了，还是回来一定要是参赛的，所以变为，但是现在多伦多的市场是给2家你们加拿大的 mainstream 的公司8巨大队的剧场，你们 Sony Center 是装修过程中，所以我们从了经济上的谈判，来找一个剧场大的，可以演2个星期比较多。不是太方便，但是我现在是来比较 Daisy 这类的有一点关系的人物，还别人帮忙找个办法来，别人让出来2个星期，我们可以越早越好来演美猴王的这里。OK， 现在我要 prepare remarks， 时间多了，你们现在有什么关于演出的问题啊？可以现在回答你就行。否则我们推去吃饭的时候说就行。Any questions from the English-speaking audience before we adjourn to sit down more informally talk during lunch? Because I don't know how many of you have a rush schedule and they have to rush off. I wish you can all stay in. Taking a Western perspective to do what to the script that I think makes it acceptable to an international audience. Number 2. I have my own performance arts troupe that I can mold to suit the purposes of international exhibition. And now I have a special forces group that I devise, a 特技组 that I take special guys.
哦，那就是开幕不过，那什么时候复演呢？
他先跟他 manager 讲，他说我差不多过年的时候来。
哦，过年的时候。
因为他现在这个开幕的时间还没定，而且这个 construction delay。
啊，不会吧？那不是说要奥运之前开幕的？
不行，他本来是11月中 ，they chose the locals, which is fine. It's not a criticism. But now they can't even know what day it is, so it's impossible for me as a big company. If I block out November to do it for them, then it's very tough. 我觉得 Sony Center is the best theater to open Monkey King when they reopen. It's big enough. The show is large. Once you cram it, even the Princess of Wales or Cannon is marginally big enough to make it look big. Because if I have an Olympic opening show coming to Toronto, I want it to be big.
But they say they're still under renovation.
And right now they won't even tell me when it's finished. They hope to be summertime, as I remember. They won't take a booking. They're afraid if they take a booking and they're not ready, and now they're in trouble. Right?
Shows during the Olympic time?
No, 56 shows, almost 60.
Okay. So how many total audience? They say you got 2,700 100 feet.
Well, that is the last 20 shows.
That's last one show.
50-some thousand just for the Beijing Jianlan.
Oh,
That's for the Beijing Jianlan. And then the other 30-some shows, 30,000 is a smaller theater.
but you say you're competing with the audience for the Olympics. In that time, people focus on sports. Do you think they still have interest in like to look at this?
Let me tell you, in every Olympics, Summer Olympics in the world recent history, the art and culture events have done very well. Let me tell you why. Each ticket session for the sports is 130 euros. That's $250 a ticket for 3 hours. If you go with a family of 4, how many athletic sessions do you want to pay to see the sports? Number one. Number two, most people I know are not interested in every sport. Those that go chase basketball, volleyball, they see basketball, volleyball. They don't go see fencing, volleyball, basketball, swimming, all together. Your bank accounts get pretty hefty, you see. So I believe whether it is antique stores or restaurants, there'll be plenty of business. That's why the prices keep going up, because you have to do something else other than watch TV in your hotel room. If you're only going to watch TV in the hotel room, you probably stayed at home to begin with and watch TV across the ocean.
So you're expecting full house for your shows during your Olympics, right?
Well, I mean, nobody has the arrogance to say expect full house, but people do it because you don't believe that. But everybody expects that all the Olympic tickets will be sold out, by the way. Okay, it has been, unless because of world turmoil, boycott or something, the Beijing Olympics gets horribly damaged more than anything before in history. But in the last so many years, the Beijing Olympic sports events always sell out.
Okay.
So if you go, you stay there and you're sold out, what are you going to do in the evening? You're going to buy something to see something. So I think it's a good time for us to showcase what I think is international quality Chinese performing arts. Because I think it would be a shame if all those people only get to see Chinese Beijing standard acrobatics right now. Because another Canadian company has already taken acrobatics to a new height that no Chinese troupe in Beijing can even come close to matching Cirque du Soleil, right? So if the international audience around the world comes to Beijing, and all they can see is Beijing acrobatics, they say, oh my God, this is where it came from. Why does it look so bad compared to Cirque du Soleil? So I just think that's the way of the world right now. I mean, the Chinese directors and producers have missed the ball and let their acrobatic talent go out to a Canadian Quebec company to use and now achieve new heights with acrobatics. If you see Cirque du Soleil now, the acrobatic talent is less and less Asian. They're more and more Eastern European from over the world. So those kids are tall and handsome, they look like movie stars, and they can do phenomenal acrobatic tricks. And they're dressed in costumes that cost thousands of US dollars a piece. You know, Canadian dollars a piece, not thousands of RMB a piece. So I don't think you can compete with acrobatics. But during the Beijing Olympics, there'll be 2 acrobatic shows that are showing in Beijing because they show all year. The tickets are very inexpensive. They show all year. But it looks very bad compared to Cirque du Soleil.
You designed these shows when you started for the...
No, I created for that market because I did it because I knew there was the void. I started in this business going to do film and television in China. And when I went back to do that, I've never been to China until I was middle-aged, and I said, my God, isn't it horrible? I went back with an expectation of something else and found out that it was not up to an international standard. I don't blame them. I say that freely back in China, not meant to insult anybody. But when you spend decades after Mao took power trying to build your country from the rural bases, you're not spending a lot of time figuring out what international entertainment is all about. So their directors and producers are very inwards, not outwards. And as a result, I think the tempo and the pacing is lagging behind, and you cannot be sent out by the Ministry of Culture for a 4-day trip and just see a few shows and then go back and say, well, I'm an expert in what the West wants to see, right? So what they do end up is see what they see and try to imitate. And that's now even worse, you know. So now what they imitate is when you see China over TV, they have their people doing rock and roll style dancing. And if you take real artists coming now and see real Caucasians or black people or Spanish people, Hispanics, doing rock and roll dancing or jazz dancing, it doesn't. I just took some of my company's people to see Mamma Mia and in Vancouver, but they don't have the spirit of the kind of acting in an American musical. So what I do is I take my deep-seated Chinese people that the whole show is based on humor. The humor just not translate.